The good news is the car passed the MOT, which is great. No advisories or anything. And as the guy who did the MOT said, considering it's got mostly new parts on it, it's not surprising. So what am I up to here? Well, I've clamped the steering wheel dead straight with a couple of straps, ratchet straps, and I'll show you what I have found. So the intention was for the people who did the MOT to also do the wheel alignment, but they couldn't get it into their workshop because they had this funny sort of raised bit metal thing as you went into the workshop. I'm not sure what it was for, but they actually beached the car on the on this metal ramp thing, and then we had to pull it off. And luckily, it wasn't on particularly hard, and they jacked it under the diff, and then we were able to get it off slowly and carefully. So first thing I've done when I've come back is I've raised the ride height by about 25 mil, maybe a bit more. I'm still not convinced it's actually legal by 750 MC rules, because you have to have a minimum of 65 millimeters clearance, and I haven't got that under the front skirt. Actually, looking at it now, I think I have now, come to think of it. It's got a couple of flaps that stick down. I don't know whether they'd count as being the lowest point. I think it's got something to do with the fact that this is an M Sport bumper. I think that's having some effect, because I've got a feeling that's lower. But anyway, the thing I was going to show you was, look at this. So I'm going to get some plastic pipe and string this properly, but I just thought I'd show you this. Let's see if you can see it. So if I just touch the string on the, let's see if we can get it there. If I just touch the string on that edge of the tyre head, just here, it's about a 25 mil gap. I mean, it's massive. It's got so much toe in, it's ridiculous. And when I drove the car down to the MOT centre, God, it was a real handful to drive. It was all over the place. As the weight shifted from one side to the other, you know, the tyres would grip and then throw you across the road. So it was a bit treacherous. So what I'm going to do to get it roughly right, I'm going to just use this string and look at this gap here, reduce the gap. I'll try and get it about 0, and then I'll look at the camber settings and try and calculate what I need to wind on the track rod ends, because I think they're 1.5 mil pitch. I'll check them, but I think they're 1.5 mil, so I should be able to calculate how much I need to wind it in to get it about right. I've only got to get it enough so that it will drive and doesn't scrub the tyres, and then Rob at 4040 will do his bit of magic and set it up properly. So, but that there is crazy. That's just a ridiculous amount of towing, and it has actually, you can see it's actually scrubbed across the tyres, and yeah, it's not good. I'll need to figure in the track width in my calculations. So you can see the front track width is nominally 1484 to the centre and 1497 at the back. So I've got a 13 mil difference there, 6.5 each side. So I'll have to allow that, but obviously the string was coming off the back edge of the wheel as well. So this is going to be a bit rough, but it's got to be better than what I've got now, which it looks as though it's way off. Here's my calculations, if this is anywhere near right. So I just measured it, and it's 20 millimeters toe in relative to the string when the string is just touching the back of the front wheel. So that means I need to split that 10 mil front and back. So shift the back 10 mil one way, the front 10 mil the other. If we assume that the steering acts about 60% from the fulcrum point to the outer radius, or to the point where I'm measuring. That's a very rough number, but 60%, let's say, so that's nice easy maths. So that gives me 6 mil. I need to move the front 6 mil at 1.5 millimeters pitch on the track rod end, gives me 4 turns of the track rod end, or the track control bar. Let's have a go with that and see what we get. So I bottled it a bit and I got to 3 turns and I thought, this is ridiculous. This seems as though it's kicking out such a long way. But I did 3 turns and it's just slightly towing in now by about 1 to 2 mil. So I think what I'm going to do is give it another quarter turn and call it quits. I think that's going to be close enough. Because of the slots in my wheel, I've found that I can use a camber gauge through the slot and against the brake disc, which is it's a little bit fiddly, and I can't, obviously, I can look pretty much directly above when I look through one of the other slots up here. It's pretty good. So I've managed to determine I've got 2 3/4 degrees of negative camber, which is quite a lot by most standards, but I think some of the 116 cars run even more than that actually on the track. Whether this is suitable for me to do it, to drive to a track day and then use the track, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out, but it's not easy to change the camber on these. If you remember from an earlier video, I have to drop the top mount to change the camber, so it's not like I could drive it there with one camber setting, then change the camber, do a track day, and then drive back. Oh, sorry, change it back and then drive back from the track day. That would not be practical. That would take way too long and probably be quite frustrating, actually. So I'm going to have to find some sort of compromise setting. Luke on YouTube pointed out that my tyre pressures are very low at 30 psi. They are. That's the temperature we run at the track when they're hot. So generally they set them at about 28, I think. We go out and warm the tyres up. They usually go above 30 during practice and during races, so they have to gradually let more air out to get them down to 30. Apparently the handling of the car is very sensitive to the tyre pressures, so I was told. And the other thing that's important is that if you overheat these tyres, they suffer from sort of thermal runaway, where they'll just get hotter and hotter and then lose grip really rapidly. So just a couple of considerations with the tyres. I've added another quarter turn on the track rod end. And now I've got just a smidge of negative camber. It's about 0.5 mil on the front edge of the tyre. And I think that's good enough for the moment. That's good enough for what I need to get the car down to 40/40 in Farnborough and get them to set the thing up properly. I may have a crack at setting up the rear camber because I have a feeling the rear camber's out. And that could actually be what's causing the majority of the instability when I drive it, because I have a feeling particularly the tyre this side is toe out. So I think we need to have a look at that. Now I've moved to the left side of the car, and a couple of things. The first thing is that the toe in was just incredible. It was probably 35 mil, might have even been more. It was ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking of. Anyway, I've sorted that out, but also what I've found is that the camber on this side, I don't know if you can see that, it may not show, but the camber on this side is about 3 1/3 degrees, 3.5, so significantly more than the other side, which was about 2 3/4. So I'm going to have to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this side more upright. So I'll set this side to 2 3/4 degrees as well. But of course, what that means is I've got to take the top mount off the strut, It's because that's the only way to make the adjustment, which is not something I really wanted to do, because I'm going to get back into all of that, and it's a right pain in the neck, quite honestly. But there's no getting around it, and I just need to crack on with it. I made a few mistakes last time I did it by dropping the whole strut right the way down and out of the car, and that just turned into a nightmare, so I'm not going to do that again. What I'm hoping to do is drop it enough so that I can get an Allen wrench on the top of the fixings. Why don't we look? So I'm hoping to drop it enough so that I can get a drive onto these four bolts, hex socketed bolts there, to make the adjustment and then pull it back up into place without me having to drop the top of the strut right out of the car, which is what I did before. You know, I'd forgotten this, that these holes here are slotted. And as you can see, this front one's right across that way, giving more negative camber, and these two at the back are, well, that's about halfway. So the question is, if I pull that lot over this way, will that give me the correction that I'm looking for? The one thing that strikes me though out of this is it's incredible to think that your camber is held just by a washer and a nut clamping down there, and that's the whole thing holding your camber in place, which is it just, I don't know, just seems weird. You'd think it'd be more precise and a lot more robust in this area here. I mean, these things are squashing down as it is. You can see it's sort of dished the washer. But anyway, I think what I'm going to do, the trouble is, I'm going to try it. I'm going to just move the bracket across. I can't do it at the moment because I've got a jack underneath, but I'll just push this whole lot over this way. But the trouble is I've got to put it all back together, put the wheels back on it, get it off the axle stand, lower it down, rock it backwards and forwards, and then check it again. And if it's wrong, I've got to go through the whole process again. That's what's so frustrating with this. If you could just have an easy, accessible adjustment on the top of this mount, so you could adjust it and then check it and adjust it and check it, that would be so much easier. But anyway, we'll have to just go through the whole procedure. Well, it definitely moved it a bit, but now it's showing about 3 degrees, so I need another half a degree. The other side, I've remeasured it and looked through the side of the a spoke of the wheel, and the bubble is sort of in the midpoint between 2 and 3, so I'm going with 2.5. So I reckon I need to take another half a degree off. I'm obviously not going to do it on the locating bolt, so it'll have to be on the bracket, and I only need to move it, I don't know, a couple of mil, probably, if that. I'll have an assess of how far I moved these bolts over. I think I moved them over about a bit more than a couple of mil, actually, probably more like 3. So I think another 2 mil adjustment on this bracket should do it. So we go again. Yep, that did it. So now I've got 2.5 degrees both sides. So I actually moved the little plate thing here across to the next pair of nuts, and you can see that these mounting nuts, in fact I tried it with the mounting nuts in the middle, that didn't give me enough. It sort of took me back to where I was before I took the top mount off. So I've just shifted them across and torqued them back up, and it's all good. So to give you an idea on how long that's taken, I came out here, it's taken me about an hour to correct this side from start to finish. So that includes one attempt of just moving the top mount nuts across, which didn't work. Then I had to take those off. Oh, the other thing to tell you is that when you jack the car, if you want to lower this plate down so that you can get to the Allen bolts, you've got to jack it in the center, because otherwise the anti-roll bar holds this whole assembly up too high. It won't drop, so you can't just jack one side of the car and do it. You've got to jack it in the middle so that the wheel on the other side drops, and that will allow this assembly to drop down. Rather frustratingly, the correcting the camber has actually put the car toe in out again. So I've got about an additional, you probably can't see that, but it's about 1 mil more than it was, which is a bit more than I want. So let's see if I can get that in the right position. I don't know whether I can actually show this, but yeah, it's gone out about, the wheel has moved inwards at the front edge by about 1 mil where I've corrected the camber. So I'm going to have to just stick 2/3 of a turn on the track rod end, I think. Yeah, I tend to overestimate it, maybe half a turn. That should get me back into the ballpark. But I've run out of time. So this is a bit frustrating, because tomorrow I've got to go into London as well, so I'm not going to get anything done on it tomorrow. I was rather hoping I'd finish this today. I'm dying to take it out for a drive now I've corrected the camber and the toe. Although I should really do the rear wheels as well, which I haven't touched yet. So maybe I should just be patient and finish off this front and then do the rears, and then take it out for a drive.